I want to preface something important first. This is less of a straight review of the album and more reflections of my personal experience with the album and how it resonated with me so very strongly. Swimming is by the late Malcolm James McCormick, or otherwise known by his stage name of Mac Miller. If you haven't and are a fan of rap in any of the slightest, I urge you to go listen to the album in full before you continue with this video. I wanted to make content for YouTube that took more effort, taking the actual time to edit together and to cover topics that require a bit of thought. I wanted to do more things more than just simple 15 to 20 minute gameplay videos. I wanted to do things that took real effort and sweat. Effort that showed. This video and script took a lot for me to actually sit down to write and edit it, especially since I do not like sharing such private details. I originally didn't want to write the script or talk about how the album made me feel or how my life was going, let alone with close friends. Mental health is still quite stigmatized. I suffer from a host of mental issues including doubt, insecurity, anxiety, depression, and frequent insomnia. All of these semi-frequently occur for me on a regular basis, especially since I have a neurotic personality. My prioritization of physical, mental, social, and financial health and decisions are all over the place. And occasionally, do and make mistakes, whether health, financial, or something else related. I sometimes don't take care of myself mentally, and I'm a social recluse at best. As much as I like to think of myself as a prudent person who always plans 3 steps ahead, I honestly underestimate myself with how likely I am to make mistakes. This may be one of the more personal things I share, but in relation to Mac, and especially one of his songs, I used to have substance abuse issues, especially with alcohol. In the song What's the Use, Mac mentioned he gets sentimental when he's off the juice. This reminds me of a facet I used to have. I didn't like how my emotions made me feel. I always had an anxious, neurotic mindset, so I used alcohol as a crutch to silence said feelings. Now I don't do that anymore, especially since I'm trying to directly confront my own feelings from now on, even if it may hurt to face them at times. Aside from this album being what convinced me to put these feelings to pen, it's also an encouragement to give my issues an outlet, and the assurance that I know and I probably know others who deal with the same issues. I'll feel better about myself knowing others are facing the same problems, and it'll remind me and give me perspective again when I'm not sure about life or feeling awful. Enough to give me strength and just keep moving forward no matter what. That's weird because I always had this complex where I didn't think my suffering really mattered in comparison to other people, and that there are people who have it worse than me, like actual clinical depression, and that I should spend my energy trying to help others. Sometimes I need to be reminded that just because others suffer, that does not invalidate my own suffering. The month of when the album released in August to late September was probably one of the worst months of 2018 for me. Especially for my mental health. I dealt with some troublesome relationship issues during August. And while I wish to put that behind me and not give any overly specific details, said monk was cruel enough to turn me into a isolated hermit who was too far gone to be happy and stayed away from others online. I didn't talk to any of my friends for 2 months. Not counting anyone I knew personally in real life, family or not. A friend is still a friend, and friends will worry about your well-being if you suddenly fall off the map like that. Then one of my dogs died in September from a vehicular accident, which was a harsh event to wake up to, if not harsher than the month before. Frankly to say, those 2 months felt incredibly awful, and it took me a long time until October to actually feel okay with myself. I was still hurting up to the middle of October, and I felt I would have to give myself more time to heal mentally before knowing I was truly okay, or even trying to jump back into life with both feet forward. It's not very often an album or artist speaks to me or resonates with me on a personal level, but here we are. I discovered swimming near the end of September, a fair bit after the news was spreading about Mac's late death, and that was when I actually began to listen to the album in full. The more I played the album, the more I began to actually listen to what Mac was saying by releasing how he must have felt. And that's when I discovered how much the album spoke to me, due to the nature of the album being so overly personal and only for himself, so much that it was easy to put myself into his shoes. Mac was exploring certain themes with this album: fear of self and consequently the fear of accepting oneself. Mac also openly spoke about one's own issues and demons, whether depression or substance abuse related, and the inability to confront them, and when you're so trapped downward you can't bring yourself to face them. Mac was opening a personal dialogue with those who listened to him. Do you feel the way I feel? Do you go through the same things as I did? That's okay, you're not alone, was what Mac's music began to say to me, and likely other people as well. Mac also implied a fear of failure in oneself, as I had mentioned. It's okay to fail, and it's okay to accept you cannot always be in control, or accept that things are happening. Mac reminded me of a common feeling, to feel lost, which is only made harsher when you previously think you know what you're doing, or where you're going in life. After Mac's late death in September, everyone began to associate and or blame Ariana Grande for his death. That's not fair to either of them. They are artists separate to one another, and just because they were in love does not entirely shape how their own art is made individually, despite the aforementioned argument. Mac and Ariana are their own entities and they're only human. His music was a major change from his partying frat boy persona, and to use a related analogy, his later album Sewed. Mac's sound style was going from a public large space like a frat house to an enclosed cramped studio apartment. Mac's music began to sound more claustrophobic and more personal. Mac was revealing things that were personal and things that you do not expect people to reveal to others so openly, especially since you wouldn't find most people to be comfortable revealing such things. Good AM, Divine Phenomenon, and very especially Swimming contrasted his previous work in tone and feeling. Mac was showing that he was in pain, but also accepted that he was in pain and wanted to deal with it and confront it. Mac's art showed soul and pain because that's what he was feeling. Mac began to care less about others and more about himself, not to say how can you help people or even live at all if you don't trust or love yourself and are always being brought down by your own demons? Mac understood that. He knew he had issues and he wanted to confront them. First and foremost, very importantly, put his mental health and personal happiness above others. As noted by some lyrics from the album, Mac tragically didn't fully understand that until now, that he didn't need anybody or need to be anybody to be happy on his own terms. That was also because in an effort to improve himself and take care of himself, he wanted to signal to his fans and to his closer people that he was okay. In Mac's defense, and in light of his substance abuse, that's common human behavior. The urge when someone pressures you or asks if you're really okay. Sometimes they'll just say you're okay, even if you may not be truly. You are, after all, just you. The you in other people's heads are not you. They are people's other perceptions or versions of you. We perceive the world through our own personal lens. Everything, and I mean everything, is seen from our personal point of view. So by that reasoning, it's okay to put yourself before others, especially when our own point of view is so central to how we perceive the world and see things through our own eyes by the very nature of our perception in our brain. When a person dies, their own personal lenses, in most cases, dies with them. That's why art exists, though. It mirrors, references, pulls from, shows, and speaks from said personal lenses. The art of dead people, whether with music, art, or film, is an abstraction of said personal lenses. Swimming truly felt like not just something he was doing, but doing only for himself. However, By the nature of how personal it was easy for others to put themselves in his shoes and understand and relate to him. Thank you, Malcolm.